The Voluntary Hardship series is brought to you by Masculine Style. You know, I've worked with Tanner, the owner of Masculine Style, as my style coach for over a year now, and the transformation has been nothing short of incredible. In the same way we provide expert strength coaching at Barbell Logic and meeting clients where they are, Tanner is really a kindred spirit in style. He's an expert coach with incredible service, always making you feel heard, and because he's a longtime client of Barbell Logic online coaching, he knows how to help you find your own style rather than forcing you into something that you're not. His coaching has absolutely transformed the way I feel and carry myself and the way other people perceive me, whether in person or on video conference calls. It's been one of the best purchases I've made over the past 18 months. You need to check him out, and you can do that at masculine-style.com/BLOC. That's masculine-style.com/BLOC for a special offer just for Barbell Logic listeners. Again, that's masculine-style.com/BLOC. You're listening to Barbell Logic, brought to you by Barbell Logic Online Coaching, where each week we take a systematic walk through strength training and the refining power of voluntary hardship. Welcome to Barbell Logic. This is Matt Reynolds. I'm here with my trusty sidekick, Scott Hambrick.
Hey.
And we are meeting in the basement in Springfield, Missouri.
That's right. You know, a lot of you guys are new listeners, and we're trying to walk through our thought process about how we strength train, why we do it the way we do it, why we use the list we use. If you start with episode 1 and listen to these in order, you're going to get the story of why we train the way we do. And when we mention stuff in here, like we talk about these belts, check the show notes. We've got links in there to some of the papers that we cite, some of the websites we cite, materials. So be sure to check out all of that stuff. And you guys have been listening for a while know that there's almost never an episode, there probably is not an episode where Reynolds doesn't talk about voluntary hardship.
Yeah.
In this episode, I can't even talk about like guacamole or bowel movements or anything. And he's like, voluntary hardship.
Yeah.
And I wanted to interview him about this, like maybe more for me than for you guys, but I thought it might be interesting to put on the show. So tell me, I don't know, define it. Define voluntary hardship for me first. Let's start with that.
Yeah, so I wish I could tell you that I invented that term. I don't think I did. I'm not entirely sure where I heard it first. There's a piece of me that thinks there's an interesting guy to follow online that goes by Mr. Money Mustache. It's true. And he's got a real popular blog and stuff. No, it's not Brett McKay, although I think Brett has interviewed him. But he had a great interview on the Tim Ferriss podcast. He's just a guy that budgets his money really well. I think he had a computer engineering job, he and his wife. And they made pretty good money, and they were able to retire in their early 30s because they were just able to live within their means in a way that, just didn't feel like super hard, but it came from this idea of voluntary hardship. I'm willing to have some voluntary hardship now in order to be able to have a better life later. And so that might have been the first place that I heard of it. And, you might listen to that same podcast on Tim Ferriss and that term might not come up, but it got me thinking about what we do in strength training. I think we talk often about the refining process that is strength training and why it is refining. I think it really comes down to this idea of voluntary hardship. People are put through hardships all the time involuntarily. And involuntary hardship may lead to a refining process in your life, but does not guarantee to lead to a refining process in your life. So some people that go through these hardships, they have, a bad family background, or they grew up, super, super poor, or got cancer, or they lost their parents, or whatever, that may refine them, but it also may not.
Right.
So when we choose the hard way, because the hard way always works better than easier, then what I have found is that it has this incredible direct refining power in my life. And so certainly not just physically, although what we do in strength training refines us physically, but any voluntary hardship, whether it's physical or mental or like your intellectual linear progression, refines us really kind of across the board. And so I have spent a lot of time in my life focused on voluntary hardship, and I'm in my third business that I've founded and owned and kind of grown. And I still live my life really based on this kind of major tenet. Man, I get up early every morning. I'm early to bed, early to rise. I tell people that I like to get up early. And it's true, although like every morning when the alarm goes off, or if it doesn't, I still wake up. I don't want to roll out of bed at 4:45. No. But I have a family, I've got a wife and 2 beautiful girls, and I want to spend quality time with them. And if I'm going to do that, it's going to require me to get up early to get my work done now so that I can maximize the time I get with my family later. And so it all comes out of this. So I start to think about the schedule that I do during the day. Am I choosing things that are hard because they bring me value rather than robbing me of value? When I say the word value, I don't just mean monetarily, right? Like monetary certainly could be part of that, but I have really tried over the last couple of years to maximize the amount of things that I do that bring me value, but that also require voluntary hardship to get.
So the Protestant work ethic, that's going to become a cliche, but it's actually rooted in the idea that the work itself is good for you.
That's the goal.
Regardless
Of what the work gets you, regardless of what
it yields you.
That's
right.
exactly right. There's value in the work itself. I have this conversation. I've had it 100 times with my daughters. My daughters think that we do work to get paid. It's just such a trivial part of it, right? Like, obviously, we want to be able to support our family and get paid is nice. All those things are fine. But when you go out, especially if you're a middle-aged man, you're listening to this, and you work an office job.
Yeah, the TPS report is not redeeming.
Right.
I have to disagree.
And you do a manual labor job, like you
Right.
build a deck on the back of your house. You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Because there's something so refreshing about this idea of voluntary hardship that you can see the work, and it's not about the actual completed deck in the end. It's about the way it refined you during the process. By the way, I've always said I love to compete in powerlifting and strength training, strongman, things like that. But the process of getting there is far more rewarding to me than the actual competition. And I've always done pretty well at competitions. I'm kind of one of those guys that tends to hit PRs in competitions and no struggle. And yet the process itself, because the process is hard. And I'm not talking about those days where it's easy to train. Anybody can train on days where they feel great. I'm talking about voluntary hardship is the day you feel like crap. The day you got up that morning and you had a sinus infection, the day you had an argument with your wife the night before, business had drama and you had to deal with that, and you decided, I'm going to train anyway. Those are the days that make the difference. And so choosing those things, choosing to read books that are hard, that are not at all easy, that you got to read 3 sentences at a time, and you go back and you read over them 3 and 4 and 5 and 10 times to be able to get it, because it's hard, but it refines you and it refines your brain, and it refines your vocabulary, are these things that I've found that are really, really important to me. And when I started to look at the things that bring me value versus the things that rob me of value, what I found was the things that brought me value were often the things that required voluntary hardship to attain.
So I got to continue to pick at this voluntary hardship notion here. And I don't disagree, by the way. I just want to clarify all this.
Sure.
So the Protestant work ethic idea is that, work itself is a good in and of itself, regardless of what it yields, right?
Right.
So, well, that's one thing. And so it's kind of rooted in the idea that idle hands are the devil's workshop, right?
Sure.
So you sympathize with that notion.
I mean,
people need to be busy so they just don't up.
Yes. I mean, I just got off the beach in Florida. So in fact, I'm telling the story about voluntary hardship.
You've been messing up, right?
No, I mean, so here's what was interesting is I still got up every day. So we are able to travel a lot. We homeschool our kids, and, I run online business. So if I have internet, I'm able to run the business anywhere.
Everywhere has better internet than your home does anyway. So.
Right. Yeah. So we decided to go to Florida, and I still got up every day on vacation at 4:45, which is actually 3:45 Central Time. Got up and worked 4 hours or so on vacation and loved it and got satisfaction from it. My work was good because I got to look forward to the rest of the day, which was laying out on the beach and spending time with my family. But what was interesting was after I would work for 3 or 4 hours and I would start to just hang out and lay on the beach, I would often find myself, I'd like read Lonesome Dove. I tried to read a book that was not too challenging mentally. So there wasn't a lot of voluntary hardship after the work I did first thing in the morning. And then I found that by the end of the day, I was just really lazy. Just lazy begets laziness. And so absolutely, I think that there's something about the value of the work itself that refines us. And it's not just what the work gets us.
So do you have any sympathy with those that are into asceticism, like monks that sleep on a board or, and live this Spartan lifestyle that see value in that sort of hardship, that sort of suffering or at least lack of material comfort?
Yeah, of course. I think you're seeing this big, obviously it doesn't take it nearly the pendulum swing that far, but I think that's why you're seeing this big movement in the kind of minimalism sort of movement that we see today, where like people are like, I want a tiny house, I want less material things,
Right.
I want more kind of hardship from a materialistic standpoint. And monks have just taken that to the nth degree, right? They don't speak, they sleep on a hard board, like the food is, there's no seasoning on the food. There's, which sucks.
I guess there's some of those monks.
Yeah, because some of the monks had like the best food ever, and the best beer, and the best cheese. Yeah, I mean, even that, by the way, have you noticed? I'm sure you're the same way. Like, I really like food that took voluntary hardship to get it.
Right.
Good beer, good cheese, like handmade salami, like artisanal sort of things that I know, like the amount of work that went into this to make this matters.
So maybe, I continue to try to clarify and dig down into this. So there is a genuine aspect like Protestant work ethic here where you believe that just, you need to work. You need to go get your dirt out of my ditch.
Well, I mean, stop you there. Like, again, we haven't, and I don't want to get like super religious on this, but I actually think as a Protestant Christian evangelical male, I actually think we're called as men to work. I think it's part of the calling. Like, again, if you don't believe the way I believe, it's totally fine. If you don't believe that, but the biblical standard basically is that we're called as men. It's not about a sexist sort of thing. Like, I think that men and women are totally equal, but complementarian in their roles. Like, we complement each other. And I see that in a no better place than in my own relationship with my wife. Like, where I'm weak, she's really strong. And where she's weak, I'm strong. And so I'm called to work. I'm called to cultivate the ground. And so what's some of my calling, I believe in like a grander scheme of things, is that the work is going to be hard. It's going to rise up against me. And there's a reason for that. And here's what I've seen. Almost every single American man I have ever met swings the pendulum too far one way or the other. They tend to overwork, which is me, or they tend to be too passive and too lazy, right? So we have this struggle with over ambition, work too much, and other things suffer, or we don't work enough. We can lazy. It's just like the 30-year-old kid that still lives in the basement of his parents' home because he never goes out to pursue a wife and a family and support them and work and realize all of the benefits that comes from the work itself, far more than just the paycheck.
Yeah, I think that work is conformable to our nature, right? We're like rational. Aristotle says we're the rational animal.
Yeah.
And good work is an outpouring of that rationality. You can see what the mind of man is capable of when they build a bridge or make a vaccine or a deck,
Yeah.
And I value work because it's an outpouring of that.
Yep.
So I'm hearing a little of that. And then you got the good old fashioned Martin Luther, bust your ass so you don't go to hell stuff, right? You are a hedonist though. So I'm not buying too much of, that you're about the asceticism that much.
No, I'm not personally at all. As a matter of fact, I enjoy, one of the things I'm able to do is to enjoy good whiskey and good food and good Florida beach vacations, which is part of the product of the work that I've done, which is fine. So I'm not going to wear sackcloth and sit in ashes
Right.
In order to find value in that. But I understand people who do.
Yeah,
right?
I certainly do.
I don't have any problem with what they do. That piece of it doesn't appeal to me. For me, it's that it's very countercultural to be in bed at 8:30 at night, to be up at 4:30 in the morning, to work, to take.
Is it a form of protest even?
No, it's not a form of protest. I just think it's one of those things, part of it is, I think, I've told this story from a physical standpoint, from a strength standpoint. I was very, very average growing up. Like, I use the term painfully average all the time. Like, it's terrifying to me to be average.
Right.
I don't want to be average. I was an average athlete. I was smarter than normal. That doesn't get you very far in elementary and junior high school. It's like not that big of a deal. I think for me, it was part of this. I see these things in culture that I can't stand. I see this movement towards, this kind of boys who can shave, right? It's these guys who are stuck in men's bodies because they're 30 years old, who still live like little boys. They live like frat boys, or they live in their parents' basement, or they don't take responsibility or ownership for their own actions. So I value personal responsibility and ownership and work. A lot of it for me too is that I'm trying to pass that down to my kids, to my daughters is really important, to my staff at my work. I want to be a role model there. And so I also think there's some of it's got some pride in it for me that I want to be seen as. I don't ever want somebody to look at me and be like, he was outworked. And in the history of that for me comes from Strong. When Strong Gym first started, we were just this little piddly gym that didn't have any money and our equipment was crappy, and it started to grow. And I had almost no business classes. I'd had a couple of microeconomics class.
Well, they're detrimental.
Yeah, of course they are, right? But I had no experience. I hadn't read books. Nothing. Right. And I started to realize, like, man, if I'm going to make this work, I can't control my IQ and I can't control, but I'm not going to get outworked.
Right.
So I started reading books. And so for about 3 or 4 years, I read 2 to 3 business books every week. I mean, I just constantly had my nose in a book because I wanted to learn from other people and grow that business. And so it worked really well at Strong. And so it has continued on as we started Reynolds Strong and then morphed into online coaching. It's been a big piece of my life. And so I still like things like I like mowing the lawn sometimes.
I do not.
So I don't do it anymore. I mean, I'm just too busy and I hire a guy how to do it. Yet there's a piece of me that actually enjoys it. Now I don't enjoy it in August.
Right. That's right.
I built the built-in shelves that my whiskey's on. I built those and, work on my hands. I was an industrial technology teacher for years. There's a piece of that kind of stuff that I like. Reading hard books. I like getting up early in the morning. I like going to bed early. These things, I like taking cold showers. I like the kind of stuff. I do. Like it's, right. And I don't. Like nobody likes a cold shower. It pisses you off, right, when you take a cold shower. But there's something about that is attractive to me in this refining process.
It's an exercise of free will, right?
Yeah. Even though I don't believe in it.
Right. No, I mean, it is. Like, it's not a very hard choice to set the temperature of the shower at 102 and get in.
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
but
I'm going to make myself... Right.
Yeah.
I think that, for me, the work is just an outpouring of who we are. It's art when it's at its best.
Yeah.
And, Marx put his finger on some serious problems, actually. He talks about the disenfranchisement, the disconnection of the people from their work. You go to a factory and you crank a handle and push a button and crank the handle and push the button. And, the worker is removed from their work product, and it's just terrible for the soul. And there's a lot of that. Like I said earlier, the TPS report, there's a lot of pointless work out there, and it's killing people.
If you've been lifting for a while, you've probably made significant changes to your body, good changes, positive changes. And after changing your build, your old clothes aren't going to fit anymore. And if you just buy new sizes of the same thing, you'll minimize the effect of how much you've transformed. By improving your style, especially in the middle of your fitness journey, you give yourself a mental win and get to see a whole new version of yourself in the mirror. And this helps solidify in your own mind that you're making progress and that you'll be at your target strength and build before you know it. So whatever the reasons were that you started to lift, you've likely found other unexpected benefits, improvements to your mental health, your relationships, your energy levels, and your self-respect. Thankfully, getting stronger isn't the only way to level up in all those other aspects of your life, and improving your style, I've personally found, will help compound all the progress you've made with your strength training. Coach Tanner at Masculine Style can help you with those steps. Coach Tanner has been my coach. He's the owner of Masculine Style and longtime Barbell Logic online coaching client. He's helped me for about 18 months now and just completely transformed my style. Not trying to make me something I'm not, but to actually feel more comfortable in exactly who I am. And so it's been a tremendous benefit to me, the way I carry myself, the way I feel about myself, which is more important to me even than the way other people perceive me, but even the way other people perceive me has, I think, changed and transformed dramatically over the last year and a half, just by the way I carry myself and the way I dress. And so it's more than just clothes, it's a mindset, it's a lifestyle. And we're thankful for Masculine Style, for Coach Tanner, for supporting the Voluntary Hardship series. Go and check him out. He is an expert coach that is a kindred spirit to what we do at Barbell Logic. He focuses on service and high-touch, one-on-one coaching with his clients. This isn't something where you're thrown into a class, but he spends lots of time with his clients, and it's been absolutely one of the best purchases I've made over the past year and a half. You can check him out. He's got a special deal just for Barbell Logic listeners at masculine-style.com/BLOC. That's masculine-style.com/BLOC. It's time to level up your style. You spent all this time getting stronger, carrying yourself better, changing your body. Now it's time to bring the style up to the same standards as your strength. masculine-style.com/BLOC.
Yeah, what's crazy is that I was a teacher for 10 years, and a lot of people look at teachers and go, well, man, you're doing the Lord's work there. You're investing in young minds. And the funny thing is that in a public school system where the public schools weren't allowed to compete with each other, right? So tax money is attached to the kid, and the kid is forced to go to the school district. So there's no competition between school districts. If school districts had to compete for the tax money that was attached to the kid, then the kid could go to school where they wanted to. That would make a big difference. There's no competition among the teachers. The best teacher in the building and the worst teacher in the building are paid the same price, as, based on how many years they taught there. There's very little competition between the kids themselves. And so when I got out of that world, that super sort of government-run, socialistic sort of work environment, and got into...
Well, how about this work environment where you can render your own art, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
But that's not what public school was, right?
Right.
That was the problem. So then when I was able to move into Strong and open a gym and be like, this is mine and I work for me. And so now certainly there's this piece of it where like, it's so much better to be able to get up early every morning and work because I know what I'm doing is thing I'm creating. There's this piece of art that I'm making.
Yeah, no question. Or at least the way I see it.
Yeah. And it was very satisfying to me. It was the first time like I fed off it. As a matter of fact, there's no doubt I have an addictive personality. I'm lucky that it's never, believe it or not, it's never come in the form of like alcoholism or drugs, whatever.
Exercise bulimia.
Yeah. So, right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I wish I was an over exercise.
Some of my favorite work is splitting and stacking firewood.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
When you're done, you can see what you did.
Yeah. I renovated a couple of houses when I was a teacher in the summer. Because you're broke as a teacher, you're not working during the summer. So one summer I did a house, and then another summer I did another house. And it was the most fun work I've ever done. It wasn't even my house. It was somebody else's house. But it was so valuable because here I was as a teacher. I was teaching every day, but there was no quantifiable. I didn't know what kind of difference I was making. I know like in the big picture, you're helping kids, but I couldn't quantify that at the time. And so to be able to renovate a house and like get this hard work and get up early in the morning before it got hot and do the work was extremely valuable to me and definitely refined me. As I've gone on, here's what that's turned into. So I literally keep lists. I'm a list maker. I've got I wanted to just look at it as we talked about this. I opened up a book. I write down the things that bring me value. So the things that bring me value, but also the things that rob me of value, which is kind of interesting, right? So I literally started to go through the things like, what are the things that bring me value that I do every day? So like cooking with my family is one. Like I actually like to cook with my family, like my family in the kitchen. Like we're looking right now at kind of designing a house and we're getting ready to buy some land and try to maybe even build the house that's going to be the house that Rachel and I retire in, even though we're, I'm in my late 30s, but I'm already thinking that direction. Just a great book brings me value. Like great music brings me value. Good coffee brings me value. Like hosting friends over for dinner brings me value. Like training heavy brings me value. These things that are listening to podcasts that are valuable. So I would like write these things down. And I would think like, I want to do more of these things in my life. There's a big list. There's like probably 30 of them on this page. Right. But then I would also do things like, I remember putting this thing together of things that rob me of value, things that work that didn't refine me. There, I'll just go down through. So like one was payroll. So it wasn't long ago that I farmed payroll. I started being like, I hate doing payroll every month. Like, and I realized a lot of people like, but payroll stuff, first off, it's coming out of your bank account.
It hurts.
Right. And so it hurts anyway. And so the actual process of adding it all up and you're like, oh my God, and I just hated it. It took 8 hours to do payroll. I was like, why am I not just paying some accountant to do this?
So at data storage, we do payroll every other week.
Yeah.
Every other week. So that means, so I'm cutting a check every other week.
Yeah.
And so that's 26 checks a year. 52 weeks divided by 2, 26. So that means twice a year, I have 3 pay periods in the month.
Kills you.
Yeah.
Kills you.
So it makes me sick.
Yeah, sure.
I owe them the money and they do good work. And
yeah.
I'm
it's
fine
totally
with that.
worth it.
I'm fine with that. So one day, it wasn't very long. I think it was like last year. So I've been doing this for 20 years, right? And so last year, I actually went over to the time clock and it was payday, and I said, hey guys, it's that bonus paycheck. They're like, what? I'm like, you get 3 paychecks this month.
Yeah.
Of all my employees, I had one guy that actually noticed.
They got it.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, I save every dime of those 2 bonus checks a year, goes right on the mortgage.
See?
And I'm like, I'm getting my ass kicked. And there's one of you out of 20 that's like,
that recognizes it. Yep.
But I think that for me, work, it should be like an outpouring of our rationality of what we're capable of,
Sure.
Like we were talking about in my book group, the Tulsa group, Dallas brought a pocket watch he got the other day. It's like an 1888 Elgin pocket watch. It's gold. It's like 14 jewels, beautiful pocket watch, a dual case. He takes it out of the case and you can see the movement in the back, It's a miracle. Damn thing's a miracle,
Like the work that it took to do that.
Yeah. In the conversation, we were actually talking about aesthetics, like a theory of art, like what makes art valid or whatever. And he said, I just think it's disgusting that somebody can, do some sort of modern art, you fill in the blank. And then this watch is not considered anywhere on par with that.
Yeah, it's incredible. Right.
He's like, you can get on eBay and there's, 3 dozen of these on eBay right now. And somebody will, Jackson Pollock will like splash some stuff and it's not on par with this watch. He's like, it's disgusting.
Right.
And I think that says a lot about, what I feel about work.
Sure.
But voluntary hardship. So my last question for you is, well, I'm just going to predict this. I think that the main value you see in the voluntary hardship is like the deferment of the gratification, the deferment of the reward.
Delayed gratification is everything.
Right.
It's everything. It's the marshmallow test, right? Does it sing this, right?
Wait a minute. So yeah, okay. You can expand on everything.
Yeah, so the marshmallow test, we'll put it in the show notes, but you can look it up on YouTube. They've done it 100 times. So basically, they take little kids. They're between like 3 and probably 6 years old, somewhere in there. And they put them in a room. It's just an empty room with a table. And they put a marshmallow on the table, and they tell them, like, hey, I'll be back in a few minutes. If you don't eat the marshmallow, I'll give you 2 marshmallows when I get back. And then they left the room. And then they videoed the kids. It was just a struggle. You could just see the kids. They were just...
I would have bargained. I'd be like, hey, when you get back, give me all your marshmallows.
They were tormented, these kids. The story behind it basically is, and I don't know how much truth there is to it, the kids that you can watch them, some of the kids just popped the marshmallow in their mouth instantly. Right. They just knew. Like, they needed instant gratification. And as they followed these kids down the road for years, the ones that were able to delay gratification were much more successful in life.
Sure.
And again, I don't know if that part is maybe the old wives' tale, but there is a lot of that. I think we live in a world and a culture, as technology has advanced, we're in a world of instant gratification, right? How many likes can I get on the Instagram? By the way, one of the things that robbed me of value by for sure is social media. Absolutely robs me. Like, if I can get completely rid of my cell phone in the next year, I'm doing it, right?
Hey,
like,
let's talk about how to do that. Let's legit.
Yeah.
Like in a
do
little
another
while,
show.
talk about, well, okay.
Yeah.
No, but we need to figure out how to do that. Like I told Charity, I was like, I think I'm going to get like a Nokia 5260. Like I'm just going to get just a phone, you know?
Yeah.
And when I'm not at work, when I'm not working, I'm just going to forward my work phone number to that because I still have to take calls.
Sure.
But, you know, it won't text. It can't send an email. There's no camera on the thing.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, no, you're not getting a burner phone. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. And she's like, no, you don't get it.
You don't understand that. A burner phone, I can't get nudes.
Right.
So what is there to it's a Nokia. I can't, there's no camera.
You know,
no.
I have a serious time preference. I can wait a long time for rewards, man. And I've got a great deal agency, but I have a hard time putting that damn phone down.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm actively, and look, I also understand people, listen, we're both business guys. We've both been fairly successful. Like, I'm at a point now where I can farm out a lot of this stuff. So I'm at the point where I'm starting to farm out my social media.
Right.
Like, I don't want to do the social media.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not
good at it
anyway. Robs me. Like, one, I don't ever want to look at it. I understand that I'm running an online business. I have to have some social media. I don't have to be the guy that posts to it all the time, right? Like, I can farm some of that out. And so, yeah, this idea of like being able to respond to text, I think what I would like to have is an assistant that has the phone.
Right.
Who's near me, right? Or I have a phone.
Can we call him Farnsworth?
Yeah, Farnsworth, right?
Answer the phone.
And the only people that have my real phone number is like my wife and Farnsworth.
So you're like Mel Gibson.
Yeah, and then basically everything has to go through the assistant, right. And then they can respond. They could probably respond to 95% of the texts I get every day, and then they could just import ones. They can let me know, like, hey, here's a phone call you need to take or give or whatever. I'd like to get there for sure. I think it's robbed me of value for sure.
So when I hear you talk about voluntary hardship, though, for me, it's just shorthand for we're doing the work now so we get paid later.
Yes.
That's what I hear every time.
Yeah.
And so it was good for me to ask you these other questions
there's more of
about
that.
it.
Have you heard the phrase, the urgent is the enemy of the important? Have you heard of that, right?
Yeah.
And so this idea of, you know, in any task that you do during the day falls into one of 4 categories, right? So, and it's this combination of urgent and important. And the idea is this. The first category are things that are not urgent and not important. So that's things like scrolling through Facebook, video games, internet porn, all those, like, whatever. Those are all things that rob you of value. They are a complete and utter waste, and you should cut out the things completely out of your life that are not urgent and not important, right? And then you have the things that are urgent and not important, right? So they have to be done. So maybe it's like mowing your lawn or taking the phone call. Like, it's not an important phone call, but you have to take the phone call,
right? Or
whatever. It's urgent, but it's not really important. Those things that are urgent and not important need to be farmed out as much as possible. And so, you know, and there's a ton of time that's wasted on that stuff too. The problem with guys like us is that we spend the majority of our time on the next category, which are the things that are both urgent and important.
Right.
And those are the things that we do that like grow our business. It's training up our staff. It's urgent and important. It's payroll. It's that kind of stuff. And the problem is it weeds out the 4th category, which is the stuff that is not urgent, but the most important.
Yeah, that's where the strategic lies is in there.
Yeah, it's the spending time, quality time with my wife or my kids, or reading books that make my mind better, or training hard. So for me, I'm going to spend as much time as I can getting rid of the stuff that's not urgent and not important, farming out the stuff in the middle as much as I can. And also, it's why I'm a big systems guy. Like, everybody knows that the way I run business, I'm a huge E-Myth fan.
Right.
And I write systems and standard operating procedures because it allows the business to run smoothly so that I can spend more time doing things that are more important. I love Charlie Munger and Buffett, the Berkshire Hathaway guys. they spend about 6 hours a day just reading. They literally set their whole day up, their whole lives up to read.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's amazing. So here these two guys are two of the most brilliant men on the planet who have literally decided the thing that brings me value, the thing that makes me better, the thing that's made me a better investor is that I'm able to read 6 hours a day, which means I'm not going to fill my day with frivolous meetings and phone calls and texting and social media and all this other bullshit. And so a lot of it comes down to that for me.
The Protestant work ethic thing where you work for work's sake.
Mm-hmm.
My mother's side of the family has that. Strong.
Okay.
Strong. We'll dig a hole because there's nothing to do.
Sure.
And that's an enemy of, being strategic. That impulse in me will, keep me like cleaning the offices.
Oh yeah. Me too. Sure.
At work, and when I need to, farm that out, it's tough.
Yeah, me too. You have to be intentional about it. It requires a lot of intentionality.
So we have to pick our hardships.
Of course, which is why I make the list about the things that bring me value. Because the things that rob me of value, here's an easy one that robs me of value that's better in social media. Going to Walmart robs me of value.
Oh my Jesus.
Right. And here's the deal. I'm a big business fan. I don't hate Walmart as a business. I think as a American business capitalism sort of story, I think it's amazing. Right. We're in Southwest Missouri. We're an hour and 15 minutes away from Bentonville, Arkansas, which is where Walmart is. It just robs me of value to go there. Right. So I told Rachel, I said, look, I'm never going to Walmart again.
Right.
I never want to go. Here's the deal. I don't care if it's 20% more at the local grocery store or at Amazon. Just order the toilet paper from Amazon because I'm not doing it at Walmart. Every time I go there, it pisses me off. It robs me of time. It robs me of value. And so we're in a position now, and we weren't always in this position, right? When you're a poor, broke college kid and Walmart's got the cheapest chicken breasts on sale, you got to go buy the chicken breasts at Walmart. But that's not us anymore. And so I actually make a choice that says I'm not going to Walmart.
The last time I was in Walmart was in Mexico with you.
Yeah, but that was kind of interesting. That was fun.
Interesting. That's Walmart tourism.
Yeah, you were actually going to see what was different, you could actually buy cars there and stuff, right? So, yeah, I mean, things like that. So for me, it's like sleeping in robs me of value. Once every 3 months, I sleep until 8 or 8:30.
I'm not going to live long enough to sleep till 10.
It depresses me. It depresses me. Honestly, even things like working on business after about 2 p.m., I start my day at 4:30, 4:45. I'm working by 5 a.m. If I'm working after 2, it robs me of value. The work isn't good.
Right.
My IQ has gone down about 30 points. It robs me of value. I used to go play cards. I used to play poker all the time.
Yeah, I don't play poker.
I don't play poker. I hate casinos. We had a free night at a nice casino, one of the ones between you and me. And I went down, and the free night was fine and stuff. And I went and played in the casino for a little while. I was like, what a horrible place. Yeah. It just robs me of value. There's nothing. It had nothing to do with the money. It didn't matter whether I won money or lost money. So the time robbed me of value.
So I don't know if anybody is enjoying this but me.
Yeah.
But we get the voluntary hardship thing when we've decided that we're doing this to become more of who we are, I think, right? Yep. We're deferring gratification. And so that's an interesting thing because I talk to my kids and other people about this. When we save money, for example, we're really doing it for a future us.
Of course.
You're doing it because you care about yourself enough to eat shit right now, frankly.
Yeah, right.
So that future you will benefit. And man, it seems like it takes a lot of self-esteem and self-regard to take a hit for yourself now.
Sure. A lot of self-discipline.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have the discipline to do it.
Most.
And by the way, if it's discipline for the sake of discipline and just like white knuckling, it doesn't work very long.
No, right.
White knuckle discipline works for a very short period of time. And I think there's times when you have to have white knuckle discipline. But if the point of the discipline, if you're doing it and you're white knuckling it and you hate it, you're not enjoying it, it won't last. It's not sustainable. And so for me, I think that's another big piece of this is understanding what's behind all of this, understanding why we do delayed gratification, why we choose voluntary hardship, why the hard way makes us better, why the easy way sucks, why the tagline that I use all the time is simple, hard, effective.
So you think that if I can move from this point to that point, and one of them's horrific, and I can move from this point to that point, and it's great.
Yeah, it depends on value.
They both get me to X.
Sure. Then you take the easy way as long as the hard way doesn't bring you additional.
As long as it's not dehumanizing, doesn't lessen you, doesn't leave you less than you were.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Right. So there are times when I'm going to cook a good meal at home that's going to take a lot more work And I could just go buy the meal at a restaurant. It would be just as good at the restaurant. But cooking the meal at home with my family still gets me to the same end result of the same food and the same macros. But there's something about the value that it brings me in doing it with my family that is more important to me. And so there are times where that's the case. Now, am I going to walk to all the seminars from now on and not take an airplane? Like, no, of course not, right? Because walking 800 miles to the next seminar doesn't bring me value. So that's why I'm constantly bringing it back to the value. Like, is the choice that I'm making now that it's hard now, is it bringing me value? And again, and I use that term value in an overarching sort of theme, not in a monetary sort of thing. Like, does it refine me and make me a better person? Or is the easier way the right way? Because the hard way doesn't bring me any more value. If that's the case, I'm going to choose the easy way. So
this has been a long enough experiment. I don't know if anybody else is going to love it or not, but if people like it, we may need to talk about a value ethics, deciding how to do stuff, based on its value.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big piece of what we do. We have core values. I think your values and your principles that we have in your family, in your life, in your business, way too many businesses don't have any core values. I think the core value should be a reflection of who you are as an owner, as a manager, as an ownership group, as the leadership, and then to the tribe of the people that are working with you, for you, around you as part of your staff. And so we have values coaching that are important to me. We have those same values in my family, and we've actually stated those. It's almost like a business plan for you that's not for a bank, right? So I write business plans every time I get ready to start a business. I've never written a business plan for a bank. Now, I've sent it. I've got a couple of really good buddies that are vice presidents of banks and say, is this a good business plan? They love the business. Like, yeah, that'd get you.
It's funny. I've never written a business plan.
So yeah, but I do it for me because I need to know when the going gets tough and like I'm in the trenches and I have to make decisions. I have to know who we are. Like, who are we? Like, what's our vision? What's our mission? Like, what do we do? What are we trying? What's the why behind the how? Right. So for me, like strength training, I talked to my good buddy, Ben Thomas Mookie, was a Navy SEAL and this awesome guy. And he was talking about the kind of why behind the hows. And, for me, I love the idea of showing people the value of voluntary hardship through strength training.
Right.
So the strength training is the how, but the voluntary hardship and the refining process of voluntary hardship is the why. So we know that everybody goes through a linear progression that actually goes through it, that actually gets all the way through, not through 6 weeks, but through 4 months, right? It refines them. And it's the easiest way. So there are lots of things that I can do that is voluntary hardship for me that refines me, but wouldn't refine you or refine other people. But strength training is the most general thing that refines everyone.
Right.
Through voluntary hardship. And so for me, my mission in life, in business, is to show people the refining process of voluntary hardship through the how, through strength. That's what we do.
Man, I think we're going to put a bow on it. Thanks everybody for listening. We need your help. Go tell some friends, share this thing on Facebook, share links to it, and help us grow. We got stuff that we need to tell y'all. The more we can tell, the better off, well, I think, I'll be arrogant, the better off the world will be. If we could get everybody to deadlift, there'll be world peace.
That's true.
So I'm on Instagram. I'm at Scott_Silverstrength. Reynolds is at Reynolds Strong. Of course, the show is at Barbell Logic Podcast.
Farnsworth is at Reynolds.
Farnsworth.
You can talk to my assistant. No, I'm still doing my own.
But hey, thanks for listening. Thanks so much.